All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for a webinar with the one and only Mr. Barry Habib of MBS Highway. I know that all of you here have been with me in the past with Barry and know that he's an absolutely eloquent speaker, but a generous-hearted man. He is traveling around the country, putting on miles on TV shows, publishing articles, getting in front of the Fed to save our industry, and continuing to provide impact every single day in MBS Highway with his fabulous team, with exactly what's going on in the market. And Barry, we've never needed you more as an industry. And I will tell you, every time you speak, I think you give everybody the wings to make it another 3 months in this industry, and to realize that what we've been dealing with has been Fed-induced, that could change tomorrow, and that we've got to keep controlling what we can control, and we've got to raise our skills and get better at what we do. And so today's call is really about teach us, Barry, teach us how to communicate the way that you do to create the argument for urgency and buying a home, and for real estate agents to partner with us, because we're going to help them make that happen. So thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. It's always good to be with you. Hi, everybody. Diana is with me today also. So we're going to kind of do a few different things together. Many of you see Diana on the update. So she's going to be assisting. Here she is.
Hey, everyone.
So,
hey, Diana.
Hi, Shayla. Good to see you.
So what we're going to be going over today is what's going on in the market, what tools could you use, how can you be making some more money right now? So we're going to show you some things to do that your realtors need, that your clients need. There's a little bit of outside the box thinking. So we're going to show you, I'm going to bring up some slides, show you what's going on, but then Diana's going to show you how inside the tool, it is so easy to do and so easy to use. So a lot of people are telling us that by using some of these tools and techniques, they're making, get ready for this, an extra $100,000 a year. So I want you to pay close attention. I want you to be completely focused. Just put this darn thing down. Don't play with your emails. Just give complete attention, because this is going to be a game changer for you. So first of all, what's going on in the marketplace? We are in a situation right now where we have things that are good working for us in our favor. We got the exact number we wanted on May 10th. Inflation has begun to come down. We're going to see it come down further and further over the next few months. And I want to show you why. I'm going to walk you through it. But there is some very good news ahead for us to be able to say, hey, we're in a position to see rates come down to a more reasonable level, but that's going to create more buying activity in a tight inventory environment. So while this may sound crazy, from your client's perspective, if they're thinking about buying a home, the higher rate is their friend. They should be thankful that rates are a little bit higher and they haven't come down as much yet, because the way to play this from a strategy standpoint is you want to buy right now. And then hopefully over the summer, when it comes time to locking in your rate, you're going to lock in at a lower rate. Even if you have to wait and refinance to a lower rate, it's okay. The cost to refinance is tiny compared to the difference in price between what you pay today versus what you're going to be paying 3-4 months from now, when prices go up as buyers come into the marketplace. And people have to see that. They have to acknowledge that you have all the tools at your disposal to do that. So we got the number we wanted on May 10th. Inflation's coming down. We know that rates follow inflation. So why have we not seen as big a move, or why has it moved kind of in a jagged fashion? There's two things going on. You all know about the debt ceiling talks, right? So that has caused disruption. The second is the banking crisis. Here's what's going on with the banking crisis, and it's important for you to know. You know about all these banks going under. We've had 3 of the top 4 bank failures in the United States, 240 some odd year history here, 247-year history. 3 of the top 4 that we've ever had have happened in the past 2 months. So it's crisis. I know people are trying to downplay it, whistle past the graveyards, but the 3 bank failures total the next 25 in total. So why have we had this huge crisis? And I think it's important for you to understand. So the way our fractional banking system works, you deposit money in a bank. The bank then pays you very little for that, like 0.1%. So, but they're still paying. So it's a liability. So they've got to do something with that money. They have to keep 10% on reserve roughly, but the other 90%, now they got to go make enough money with that 90% to pay you and make a profit. That's how the banking system works. So they try and make some loans. So great. But that also ties money up when you make loans, right? So, if I loan it to you on a 5-year business loan, that's it. I'm out of it. I cannot get rid of that loan for 5 years. That money's dead. So some of that money is invested. That'll give them a higher yield than what they're paying. So a lot of that went into mortgage-backed securities or treasuries. Now, at the time, it looked like a good deal. You're paying 0.1%. Mortgage bond coupons might have been paying 2.5%. Remember, if mortgage rates are 3.5%, the coupon to the investor, the borrower pays 3.5%, everybody takes a piece, the investor gets 2.5%. That's okay. I'm making 2.5%. I'm paying 0.1%. That's 2.4% that I'm making. Give me all the money you got. I'm going to make that spread. That sounds wonderful. Until the Fed comes in, too late on inflation. They keep rates too low. Inflation starts to rise. Well, inflation starts rising. That means the bonds that I have start getting underwater. How? Because market rates on mortgages with inflation start going up. So now mortgage rates go from 3.5%, where it's a 2.5% coupon, to 6.5%, where it's a 5.5% coupon. So now I'm sitting with these 2.5% coupons. If I want to value what they're worth, it's not worth what I paid for, because nobody's going to buy a 2.5% coupon from me when in the open market they can get 5.5%. Now I could sell it if I have to, but I have to compensate them for that loss of yield. So I sell it at a discount. Now, how do you figure that out? It's kind of easy. You say, well, if the average life is 7 years and the average and the loss is between 5.5% and 2.5% is 3%, well, it's around 20% haircut or discount. So somebody will buy that 2.5% coupon, but if it's a $100,000 mortgage, they're going to buy it at $80,000. So normally that doesn't even come into play, because I don't have to sell them, unless, because the Fed's jacked up rates so much with reckless abandon and not thinking about consequences, they now have given you an alternative. A year ago, if you put your money in the bank and you get 0.1%, you get 0.1%. Where else are you going to put? That's safe. Treasuries, they're paying less than 1% for short-term treasuries. Money markets are paying the same thing. So where are you going? Now, do you know you can get 4.5% on a money market fund? So smart money is saying, ooh, I've got $100,000 here or $200,000 here. I'm going to get an extra 4.5% on $200,000. Man, you know, can amount to about $1,000 a month. That's real money. That's smart. So it doesn't just get transferred. You have to take it out of the bank. Even though you might make a transfer, what's happening is it's coming out of the deposit account and getting buried in a money market account. They're investing it in Fed funds. They're investing in it in short-term treasuries. So that money's getting invested. So that means the bank now has to redeem your deposit. You're going to pull $100,000 out. Okay, I'll give you $100,000. Now remember, I only kept 10% of your money on hand. So I got that. Where do I get the other 90%? Well, I got Shayla's 10%. I got Diana's 10%. I got Katie's 10%. I got enough so I can make you whole. No problem. But what if everybody starts doing it? I don't have that kind of money. I can't go where I lent somebody a 5-year loan on their business or on a car loan. I got to repossess your car. I can't do that. So what do? I have those treasuries I could sell, but now I got to sell them at a haircut. So I sell them at that loss, and now I have to realize that loss. So that's less capital I have to lend. But think about what happens. All those treasuries and mortgage-backed securities that have to be sold to raise capital, they come into the market, and it's flooding the market now over the short term. Remember, every market is determined by supply and demand. So inflation's coming down, people want to buy bonds. But at the same time, more bonds are coming into the marketplace because these banks have to raise capital. They can't do it by selling stocks. Look at their stocks. Their stocks got killed. The shorts are. So I can't go ahead and do another offering. Who's going to buy it? Nobody. These banks are going out of business. They're endangered. Nobody's going to buy them. So my only choice is I have to sell these treasuries into a market, which creates, for the time being, more treasury selling, which then hurts prices, increases yield. That's why you're seeing this tug of war going on, and we're not getting as much progress. The debt ceiling, if the president gets what he's been begging for, or Chuck Schumer gets, oh, we need a clean bill. What does a clean bill mean? Clean bill means we're going to spend up the wazoo, and we're not going to take any kind of spending cuts. Well, if you spend money you don't have, how do you get that money? You borrow it. How does the government borrow it? By selling treasuries. So the market is anticipating potentially that more treasuries come into the market. So they're afraid of a temporary flood of treasuries from both now the banks and from the government trying to pay for things it doesn't have the money for. This is why you're in the situation you're in now, where normally rates would be coming down. But here's a prediction for you. The CPI, which is currently down from 9.2 to 4.9%. It's funny. The government, Fred says, inflation's not coming down. It's coming down. It is now down to 4.9 from 9.2. Here's a prediction. On July 12th, that CPI is going to be at 3.5%, a dramatic drop between now and July 12th. It'll come down a little bit June 13th as well. It'll get down there maybe around 4%, maybe a little more. But then we're saying 3.5%. July 12th is where we're going to be. Hopefully we get past the debt ceiling issue by then. Hopefully we get a little more stability in the banking system. And then we start to see treasuries and mortgage rates improve quite a bit over the summer. Now, I'll get there in fits and starts. We're going to start to see it come down a couple of days, go up, come down. It never goes in a straight line. But the direction is down. We have a winning hand. We just got to be patient because things are working. And some of the biggest factors that we know inflation is going to come down, just to show you, is because we know shelter costs lag. You average the last 12 months, and those shelter costs, which are so heavily weighted, they will come down. So we've gone through some of these charts before. I've shown you some of this stuff before. So you've seen that. So I'm not going to have to go through this again with you and show you this stuff. But, just to kind of give you a quick view of them, here's shelter costs, what they're doing now. Here's the way it's kind of shown within CPI. I'm going to jump around because we got limited amount of time. So you see shelter costs are doing this, but you average the last 12 months. The way it is in CPI is like this, but you see this curve here? We're starting to come down. That's this, okay? So we're on the other side of the mountain. We're coming down in the right direction. Wayne Gretzky, greatest hockey player, he said, don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck's going to be. The Fed, they don't even do that. They skate to where the puck was. They're data dependent. They all wanted more inflation. They were begging 2 years ago, Johnny Yellen, go big, inflation. They all were fools, and they're doing the same mistake again. Why were they so foolish? Because yes, inflation was low, but they were looking at shelter costs in the rearview mirror. Remember the lag in shelter. It was only 1.5%, that line here, okay? Here's where it is now. Back then, they were saying, great. But what was happening in real time? They ignored this. This is looking through the windshield. This is looking through the rearview mirror. They looked through the rearview mirror and they screwed us. All the problems that you are having, all this inflation that you're experiencing, all the pain that they have to create, all the banking crisis, it's because these people screwed us. Because instead of looking at what was happening in real time, they looked at the rearview mirror where the puck was instead of where the puck is going. And they're doing the same thing now. Here's what they're looking at. Here's where we are. Here's where the puck is going. Here's where the puck was. Eventually, this will catch up and get there. But by that time, the Fed will have done so much damage. And the damage that they did was, all they had to do is stop QE here a year earlier. Just stop QE. Just raise a quarter. No banking crisis. No inflation problem. Sure, a little higher rates. Maybe we get into the fours, high fours, but you'll never have hit 7. You'll never have housing go through what it went through. You'll never have the pain experience. But it's because you have a Fed chair who is not an economist. He is a lawyer. Remember that. You have a lawyer, not an economist, with economic responsibility. So here's the last couple of years of what we saw in the CPI core readings. We had low numbers replaced by high numbers, and that caused inflation to rise and mortgage rates to rise in the summer of 2022. Then in the fall of 2022, we had high inflation numbers replaced by low inflation numbers, which caused rates to come down. But take a look at what's happened recently. We've had treading water here. This and this is almost the same. You add this up, you get 1.4. We've got 1.3 in inflation. We didn't make any progress, which is why it feels like we haven't been gaining anything. But the reason why we said May 10th is because that's where we got April's number. And what happens? We're going to now start replacing these numbers. And it's already working. Look, we got the first month in where it was lower than the previous, but next month and the month after will be even lower, especially when you look at shelter costs. See, this is why May 10th was so important, because we got this number. We are finally breaking where shelter costs that are coming out are lower than the shelter costs from a year ago that we're replacing. And this trend will continue and continue. Look at all these high shelter costs that will be replaced by lower shelter costs on the other side of that hill. This is why rates are going to come down. It's because inflation is going to come down. So this is what we're seeing, and we're coming down even faster on this stuff, okay? So now that we know where we are, we know the inventory situation, right, folks? I'm going to take you right to the inventory situation. And by the way, another thing that could happen is we could get a jobs report that becomes very favorable, and I think that's one of the things that we're going to have. This tells you how many CEOs of Fortune 500 companies mentioned job cuts. And for the first time, mentions of job cuts here in gray are more than labor shortages. Before, it was a labor shortage situation in 2022. Now it's not as much of a problem with labor shortage. Now we got to start to make job cuts. That's going to bring inflation down, bring the jobs numbers down. We're going to have a recession, and team, rates drop during recessions every time, and real estate does well. We've talked about that. One of the big issues about it, I'm going to jump around because just I know that, we have to kind of take a look here quickly. 563,000 active listings. Here's where we are. Look, do not bet against housing. Housing is the champ. I mean, it's just the champ. Why? Because no other asset class. I don't care if you follow Bitcoin, gold, stocks, but you name it, whatever you pick, whatever you want. Nobody has the record of real estate. Real estate has been up in the last 81 years, 73 positive returns, 1 negative return, and 1 tie. Nobody can even come close to Matt. Nobody. Everybody worries because we've had, forget it. It's got to be a bubble. Look, it went up 10%, 19%. It's got to be a crash. Really? Is that what you're thinking? Because that means you never looked at history. Let's look at history. You think this is a lot? What about this period? We went up 118% in 6 years. So if you were waiting for a crash, you might have not have been alive for it because you had to wait 43 years till the market, forget about crash. It took a breather of down 1%. That's what it did this time as well. We took a breather of down 2.9% as far as the Case-Shiller number goes. 0.6% was the breather on FHFA, but they've already started going back up. Look, and even during this period, within that 43 years, another 93% jump. And then we took a 1% breather, and then prices went up another 14 years with big gains here. Everybody worries about this, but what was the issue? Back then, inventory was 4 million. Today, it's less than 1 million. Back then, we had too much housing inventory, not enough demand. Now, too much demand, not enough inventory. And what were the lending standards? What was it? Fog up a mirror, you're approved. Do you have a pulse? You're approved. Why? No income, no asset, no job, no down payment, and a 580 FICO score. I mean, are you underwriting to those guidelines today? Obviously not. So it is a totally different environment than what happened here. Yet everybody wants to ignore all this and just focus on this. So silly. And whose fault is it? The media. Because the media needs clickbait. The media needs to scare you, and the media needs to suck you into bad information, just like they've done forever. Look at what has happened. We reached a peak in July. We had a few months of it going down slightly. Like I said, in aggregate, to less than 3%. But now look at what's happening already. By the way, 2022, while everybody said it was a crash, we were up 6% for the calendar year. And 2023, we're going to be up. Look at the turn. In January, it was a mixed bag. Some reports, FHFA, Black Knight, prices went up. Some like Case-Shiller, CoreLogic, and Zillow, prices slightly down. But look at this. In February, all of them positive. In March, all of them will be positive. We get these numbers on May 30th. They're on a delay always. But look at the acceleration. Improving for all 3 months. And here, really improving in March. Really improving in March. So these numbers are going to be much better in March. All of this is on the way up, folks. Look, the last time home prices bottomed, we went up 8% appreciation. 8%. That's with 2.4 million in inventory, with much less. We think, last year's housing forecast was a bullseye. We said 5.5. We got 6. This year, we're saying 5.8% appreciation. So you're going to be in a position where you're going to see very strong numbers again this year. I want to show you a couple of things that I think are critical for us to make more money. And then I'm going to turn it over, if we have that time, because Diana is going to show you how easy this is to do. I want you to start thinking about cash out refinances. I don't care what the rate is, because your customer thinks they have a low rate. They don't necessarily have a low rate in aggregate. They might have a 3% mortgage, but when you look at their home equity line of credit at 9, their credit cards are 22, their car payments at 11, are they really at an overall rate of 3%? The answer is, in most cases, no. Maybe in some cases they don't have any debt, but that's okay. That's not our customer here. We are not going to do this for everyone. What I'm going to say is that you will easily do 10% of your client base will fit into this category. Easily 10%. So think about how many customers in your database, 10%, multiply that on how much you make per loan. That's how much money you have sitting there that you're about to make in the next couple of months. So get ready to make a lot of money, but most importantly, get ready to help your customers. And here's why. Previous to the recession, which is the recession in 2020, people forget we had one, and the pandemic, which occurred back to back in a 2-month span, our savings rate in the United States was 10%. We had our credit cards maxed to the highest amount of credit card debt ever in this country's history. Then the government said, hey, we're going to help you. We're going to give you a big stimmy check, big stimulus. I got the big check, but I can't spend it because the economy shut down. So I put it in my bank. But then I look at it, I say, I got all this credit card debt. So I'll pull my money out of the bank and I'll pay off my credit cards. And you can see that happening. But then here's some good news. The economies are now opening. You got to wear a mask. But here's another big stimmy check. Okay, I'll wear my mask and I'm going to go spend it at the mall. And people spent like crazy. Don't worry, because you got another stimmy, even bigger, and they spent it even faster. This feels good. How do I keep the party going? Well, I'm going to drain my savings. And now our savings accounts rate is at 5% instead of 10. And I'm going to jack up my credit cards. Forget the previous all-time amazing high balance. I'm going to go much further than that. But it gets worse because a year ago, I was paying 14%. Now I'm paying 22%. And car loans, well, car payments have doubled in the past 3 years to $800. But even that doesn't tell the whole story, because it used to be $400 a month at a 5-year term. Now it's $800 a month and it's a 6-year term. Do you know that 1 out of every 6 or 17% are over $1,000? So your clients are hurting. Their savings are gone. Their debts are high. The rates they're paying are through the nose, but they have equity. The average LTV in the United States is 42%. Black Knight told us yesterday that the average tappable equity, this is the amount you could pull on a cash out refi. Average. Look at that. $185,000. So you are right now the answer to your customers' prayers. Only you can help them, not their accountant, not their attorney, not their bank. You're the only one that could save your customer from the situation they're in. Now, how do you save them? Well, you save them from taking them out of their 3% or 3.5% or 4% loan and putting them into a 6.5% loan that's smarter for them. Let me show you how. They bought their home 5 years ago for $500,000 with the loans $400,000. So we know their home has gone up a lot. We know their loan has gone down through normal amortization. They've got 3 3/4 because they refinanced it in 2021. They've got 28.5 years remaining. They've been in this thing for 1.5 years, but they don't like it because 6 3/8 doesn't sound good. They got $3,000 in closing costs. And clearly on the surface, it would not make sense because it cost them $477 a month. But they have debts. They've got a couple of credit cards, major credit cards. They've got a store credit card, Discover. So they've got some debts, but they're at a 57 LTV. I could easily take them to a 75. They've got $121,000 in tappable equity. I could pull that money out and I could pay off these debts. When I pay off the debts, I'm saving you $1,174 a month, almost $1,200 a month. Team, you know how much this is? This is like, believe it or not, like $28,000 equivalent income pre-tax, because this is tax-free. So you'd have to make $28,000 a year. This could be the difference between that family having to go out at night and drive Uber to make ends meet, and now being able to spend time with the family because you just freed up $1,200 a month for them, which is equivalent to a taxable earning of $28,000 a year. Do the math. This is an amazing thing that you could do for this family. So what do? You save them this money. And what if they say, you know what, Sheila, I'm okay because look at my ratios. They're 22, my ratios. I'm okay. I'm going to take the extra $1,100 a month, but it's not like I need to do it. So here was what you do, Sheila. Make believe you're going to make the exact same payment that you're making today when you add up your mortgage and all these credit card debts. So make that exact payment, but pay it all on the new mortgage I'm going to do, which means you're going to apply this found money towards principal. When you apply the found money towards principal, it takes the term from 30 years to 14 years and 2 months, which happens to be almost 12 years less than what you currently have with your 3 3/4% mortgage. What does that mean? Instead of having 26 years and 1 month remaining term, and by the way, Di, this should be 28.5 years on this.
Okay.
You have saved a ton of money on this thing. You've made an extra $64,000 in the first 5 years. You've made $161,000 in 10 years. And when this loan's paid off 14 years and 2 months from now, you made an extra $272,000, folks. Let me tell you one better. If this wasn't good enough, and hopefully you're excited about this because you're about to make a lot of money and save a lot of customers' rear ends and help them. People say every day, we just got this one yesterday morning where somebody said, hey, I saved my client $3,000 a month. And I wanted to show you this because the rate that they gave them was 7%. They couldn't even get the best rate. So it still made sense. Every realtor's suffering right now because I've got a client, Shayla sent me a note earlier saying, we're hearing a lot of people saying, they've got a low rate. They're hesitant to move. It doesn't make sense, but they want to move. People have always wanted to move, get better, do things, right? Look, original purchase price 4 years ago might've been $500,000 with a loan of this, but we know their home's worth more. We know their balance has gone down. So they've got equity. They've got $290,000 in equity in their home. Now, most people will take it and use it. They'll say, okay, I'm going to put 250 of that 290 down. So I'll take out a $500,000 mortgage and the rest I'll go for closing costs and some reserves. But they don't like it because the rate that they're giving up is 3 3/4. They're going to 6.5, and it just doesn't feel good to them. And when you break it down in dollars, it sucks because they got to pay $1,800 a month more. And so they say, wait, hold on. I'm not going to do that. $1,800 is a big hurdle for me to go with. It doesn't feel good, but you don't have to go with a 67 LTV. Let's take that LTV to a higher level. Let's borrow more money and crush these debts. If we borrowed another $50,000, $60,000, here's what happens. You'd save $1,600 a month. And now now let's do this loan at a 74 LTV instead of a 67. By doing that, it's only going to cost you $179 a month more than what you are spending today to buy the home of your dreams. Less than $200 a month difference from what you're spending today, and you've got the home of your dreams. Don't worry about the rate. Worry about the payment. That's how we buy things in this country. So this is what we should be doing for our customers. Last thing I want to show Shayla here before we go to Diana and questions is that, folks, 39% of all sales with a mortgage are to first-time home buyers. Did you know that? 39%. So if you're ignoring first-time home buyers, you're ignoring 39% of the market. And people don't even market to first-time home buyers. It makes me crazy. Realtors don't even understand this. Look, folks, I want to show you a couple of quick things. Should you buy or rent? $500,000 purchase price, 90 LTV. Let's make it crazy. 6.5% rate, and they never refinance. They're going to be in the home for 9 years. They're never going to refi. They're going to be stuck with 6.5 because rates never come down. We know that's not the case, but I want to make this look ugly. And then look, what else is negative about buying a home compared to renting? One, property taxes could go up. So let's assume they go up 2% a year. Two, repair costs. So let's assume $2,500 in repair costs that if I were renting, I would give that to my landlord. And the cost to sell. If I'm renting, I don't got to worry about that. But let's say it's 6%, not of today's value, but of the future value 9 years from now. And let's go by 4.65% appreciation per year to make this nice and expensive to sell the home. So let's put all those negatives in one. Now, let's say if you were renting, you happen to be amazing at negotiating. So while everybody else in the market has to pay the normal $4,000 a month rent, you're so darn smart that you negotiated it down to $3,700. And rent over rent increases. Right now, the blended rent over rent increase is about 4%. That's slightly below the historical average, but let's say it stays at 4%. So should I buy or should I rent? Well, it's easy. I should rent. It's $300 a month cheaper. Smart, rent, right? Let me wait it out. Let me rent. It's $300 a month cheaper. Seems like a good deal. Except that rent goes up at 4% a year. And what you don't realize is by the third year, you're about even. And then after that, every year, you're more expensive. In fact, over the 9 years, you're going to spend $33,000 less buying than you would renting. But that's not a true statement. What do you mean it's not a true statement? You are cheaper, not 4 years from now. Guess when you're cheaper? You're cheaper when you make your very first payment. Why is that? And it makes me crazy that nobody explains this. It's the easiest thing in the world, team. You pull up an amortization schedule and you show that your payment of $2,800 on your mortgage, part of it's interest, which by the way, you get a tax break, and part of it's principal. The principal portion is your own money. How much is it? So easy. Pull up the principal. Payment number one. Number one, $400 of my money is principal, which means it goes from my checking account to another account that I have, a forced savings account called equity. It's my own money. So the rent might be $300 cheaper, but when you count the principal from month one, I am cheaper buying this home by $100 a month. Don't be fooled. Nobody explains this to their customer. You be the smart one. In MBS Highway, you pull up the buy versus rent, and then you pull up the quick tool right next to it and just do the amortization schedule right next to it and show the customer. And look, and every month it improves, as you know. There's only the first 12 months, and look how much. You get into 6, 7, 8, 9 years, you're packing on principal. In fact, how much is it? It's $59,000 in the first for that 9-year period. Yet nobody talks about it. But then what about appreciation? 4.65% is the historical rate of appreciation. Okay, what is that compounded over 9 years on 500? It's tough to come up with that in your head, which is why you got to show it to them. If we can't do it in our head, forget it. Our realtor's not going to, our client's not going to. They're not going to see that, because the compound interest, according to Albert Einstein, is the 8th wonder of the world, and it's $252,000. Yes, 9 years from now, that $500,000 home is going to be worth $752,000. Okay, we got to pay 6% commission to sell it, but we get a tax break. So what's the total? You're better off in this crazy example. Remember, if rates come down and they refinance, it'd be a lot more than this, but you're going to save at least $305,000 by buying. Now, you'll notice in year one, it would be upside down. So Mr. and Mrs. Client, if you're going to move in the first year, heck, do not buy this home, because the cost to buy and sell will overwhelm the benefit. You should be renting. But Mr. and Mrs. Client, if you're going to be there 2 years or longer, why in the world are you not buying this home? Why? You don't like the way 6.5% sounds? Do you like the way $300,000 sounds? Because you'd lose that if you rent. Co-brand this with your realtor, folks. This is what you have to do. Use the tool. I want to just stop with this one slide here, because the biggest obstacle is a misconception. So the National Association of Realtors, and this is the freaking silliest, stupidest part about it, because they're realtors themselves. The National Association of Realtors does the survey, and they survey first-time home buyers. They said, how much do you need for a down payment? Do you know that only 11%, 1 out of 9, knew that you could buy a home with 5% down? 8 out of 9 people, 89%, think you need more than 5% down. In fact, almost half think you need 20% down. So what happens to that homeowner, that renter? They say, well, you need 20% down at 500,000. That's 100,000. I don't have it. So they never even get into the game. They never approach you. They never approach a realtor, because they think they need 100,000 when they need 25,000. Your marketing should not get too cute or fancy. You know what you need to do? Remember, I told you 39% of transactions are to first-time home buyers. Show them that you could buy a home with low down payment, whether it's 3.5 or 5. All right, I'm going to stop there, and we can have Diana run through these like nobody else can inside the tool, because she's the greatest. I can do it. I'm pretty good, but for purposes of time, Diana can do this quick for us too.
Diana kills it. I do have to say, there's an article posted today that a survey shows the least amount of people ever think it's a good time to buy a house right now. So why are realtors and loan officers struggling? If you haven't been good at these skills, if you haven't been able to articulate and show people the data, then you've not been really doing your job, right? Up until now, 50% of people thought it was a great idea to buy a house. Right now it's 21%. So 79% of people do not think it's a good time. So guys, I hope you're now taking notes on, okay, how do I articulate the way Barry does? Because what I see happen so often is loan officers come and watch you speak, Barry. I've been in rooms with thousands of people, and they get jacked up and they're going, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But they don't correlate that now it's my turn to be able to speak like Barry speaks. When I'm at a barbecue, when I'm at a pre-approval meeting, when I'm speaking in a sales meeting in front of realtors, when I'm getting on social media, what can I say that's relevant? And like you said, Barry, that the debt consolidation is a huge opportunity, and the first-time home buyer is a huge opportunity. And then helping every listing agent that can't get these people off the fence because they're given, an objection that says, oh, my rate's too low, and they're stopping there. And they're not digging further. That's what we've got to get good at. So Diana, just kill it for us, because I know that this is what everybody needs, which is Barry, why I asked you to be on today. And your team is just unbelievable helping us. So
Yeah, and
Let's
just
learn
real
this,
quick,
guys.
and just real quick, I see Shelley, you were answering questions and you got it. And um, is this everybody good on this, or do I have to answer any of these questions? Or
No,
have they-
everything, we're all caught up with everything. The only one that was somewhat answered in the beginning was what about struggling banks continuing to sell their MBS portfolio at a loss? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's going to continue to happen until the Fed realizes that we have to be in a position of understanding inflation's coming down. The Fed should cut rates instead of hike rates. When they do cut rates, we'll be much better off. One of the things that could justifiably be on the Fed's mind is that we are the world's reserve currency in dollars, which means oil is denominated in dollars, which means when we cut rates, if the dollar begins to weaken because oil is denominated in dollars, oil prices go up, and that could be inflationary. That's a possibility. So that may be weighing on the Fed's mind, and it could be something that they're thinking of. You know, it is a Rubik's Cube for sure. There are no simple answers. The Fed has given us no good choices because of their ignorance, but doing more of the same is certainly not going to be helping. They should be cutting rates slowly, gradually. That will soften the blow, give less of an alternative to pull your money out of the banks, and make it less painful to raise capital because you are not going to be taking as big a haircut when you sell those securities. But the Fed just, you have a lawyer in charge instead of a businessman or someone with an economic background.
Very good. Okay, let's do it, team. So most of you are, of course, MBS Highway members, so you'll be able to log into your accounts and do the same thing I'm doing here today. Barry, any preference of which one to start with?
Well, I think the easy one, let's start with the buy versus rent because we just went over that. It's fresh in everybody's mind. Let's just kind of do that quick.
Great. So you can find it under the real estate section or the calculator section. It's called buy versus rent. And you start out with a location. You can either enter a state and county or use the smart search, the search box here, to enter an MLS number, a zip code, or a state and county or a full address.
Let's go. Give us a zip code.
89523.
And what kind of purchase price there, Shayla?
680.
Okay. So we enter just those two fields of inputs, and actually the piece is done for you already. You don't have to do anything from this point, but of course you'll customize this for whatever client or scenario you're working with. So let's go through a few that Barry did already show you here. Within our system, we have data for every county or zip code. So we'll tell you what a comparable rent is for that specific area based on that home price you've entered. So about $3,700 in this case.
But yeah, and you could edit it to anything you want, but we're giving you a guideline is saying what the averages are. Doesn't mean you have to use that. We're just giving you a starting point of approximate.
And as you change the numbers here, like Barry mentioned, if you start typing something in, all the results change in real time for you. So we'll enter a number for renter's insurance. And again, we know since we're in that area, what the annual rent increase is for that specific location, 6%, but the national average is about 8% here. Then the property information, everything is based off of that purchase price that you entered. So 680, we have the property taxes for every county. So we'll give you whatever that county rate is. You can type in your custom rate if you'd like, use the one we give, or type in a dollar amount for property taxes, just like every field. Then the home insurance, annual property taxes, repair and maintenance costs, and a cost to sell.
The property taxes shows an estimate of what property taxes could on average go up per year. So it's showing you all the negatives. Okay. We want to show you that. We want to show you what it could be in repairs as opposed to renting. We're showing you the cost to sell as opposed to renting. So you have these negatives are included in there. You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to sell you. We're giving you a true evaluation so you can see where you are.
Then in the loan information section, we start off with a 10% down payment for the default, but you have this little table right here. You click on the down payment percentage. We'll calculate the loan amount for you, or just type it in. And we're working with a 30-year fix, but this can all be customized once again with a 6.75% rate.
Let's say the rate's 6.5. You could just change it for them.
Sure. Then for mortgage insurance and closing costs, always you can enter just a dollar amount in the field here. For mortgage insurance, if you have the client's credit score, we can help you calculate that. And
same show them how easy that is, Di.
Sure. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. So in mortgage insurance, click this help me option, choose the client's credit score, and we'll calculate that monthly payment for you. Or you have a single premium option where you can finance the fees in or pay it up front.
Go back to, okay. I was going to say, just go ahead and pop it in there as if it's a 760 FICO.
I can change that right now. 760 plus.
And you'll see the numbers change.
Confirm. And you'll see it change from about 240 to 140. Then For closing costs, you can enter a dollar amount or select use worksheet. And if you'd like it more detailed, enter in the dollar amount or percentage for each item that's listed here. You can also save this as a template. And if you use one more than another, you can mark it as your favorite template so it automatically attaches it. And then for those customers that need to see more of a detailed breakdown, just export it as a PDF for them. And lastly, under home ownership, we ask how long does the customer kind of plan on staying in the home before selling? You can go anywhere from 1 year to 15 years. We'll leave it at 9. And then for the appreciation rates, we'll give you the historical and the forecasted rates averaged out every single year. But you also have a custom option. Maybe you want to stay super conservative and show 2%. You can do so, and it'll calculate that in the results for you. But we'll stick with your area appreciation here. Then the tax information, let's just say we're working with a married couple, bringing in 150 annually.
Di, why don't you put the forecast in there? I think you got historical.
Sounds good. All right. So I selected forecast, and then you choose whatever tax rate your customer or customers have. And all this is all updated at all times.
I want to explain that for a second, because we want to be able to give you the accurate amount of tax benefit you're going to get. A lot of people will make a mistake here. So they'll give you the total tax benefit. What we want to show you is what is the tax benefit above the standard deduction you would get renting. Okay. So a lot of people will say, how much am I going to get a tax benefit? So we don't want to just give you the tax benefit. We want to show you the difference versus renting. So what you do is if you click in the box, because you're not going to know what their tax bracket is, we will calculate it for you. Like, let's say, Diana, their income was $350,000 and they're married. So they're married, 350, you click that, and you see that they're in the 32% tax bracket. You see how it does? So it does it for you automatically.
So
you know their income, so you just put their income in, and it does all the math for you. It is very, very detailed. So, and then you have to tell us, are they married or are they single? Because notice the standard deduction is much less. If you hit single, notice what happens to the tax benefit. It goes way up. If they're married, there's less of a tax benefit compared to renting, because they have a much greater standard deduction. See, so we're not trying to cheat here. We're not trying to make it look pretty. We just want you to get the real deal on this.
Very good. So once you finish all your inputs, if you need to customize anything, you have your results. This is what it looks like in your view here, but I do want to show you what it looks like on the customer's end. Of course, most of the time.
Before you do, if you don't mind, show the results on the bottom. And you can see, just like we showed you on the slides, you could see the same thing happening here. Okay. So in this one, you're negative for the first 2 years. So if you're going to be there less than 2 years, you should be renting. If you're going to be there longer than 2 years, you should be buying. And boy, you'll make a lot of money. Now, you could show them the amortization part too, very, very easily, like I did. Go to Quick Tools. Go ahead, Di, you tell them.
Right in Quick Tools on the right side, you click Payment, enter your information, and then just select View Full Schedule.
Go ahead, show them what it is. Di. Put it in as if you're doing it.
Sure. What was it? 680? No, that was the purchase price. I forgot what the loan amount was. So 612 at 6.5%. So go to your Quick Tools, Payment, $612,000 loan amount at 6.5%, 30-year term. Click View Schedule. Right in a new tab, it'll pull it up for you, and you can look at exactly what Barry just showed you in the monthly schedule here.
Monthly, it's 500, as you can see there. So every month, while you're 550, 556, 559, 562, every month, that's the amount they're socking away in a forced savings account in principal. So
that's so good.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I just noticed is that you could, so in that scenario, they don't break even or be in the positive until year 3. But if you went back and said, well, what if you put 20% down?
Bingo.
And then you start going, well, you put 20% down, but then you're keeping this debt on the sidelines. Do you want to have the debt? Or would you rather put 10% down, have your debt cleared off, or have money for a backyard? And now people start thinking about how do you use their capital.
Go back to the buy versus rent. So now you could see that, look at the difference in payment. Okay. While you might think it's $1,100 in this case, or $1,000 a month, it's really $500 a month. Okay. Because of the difference there initially. Right. So now if you go back to that diet, let's do exactly what Shayla said and go to the loan and make it an 80 LTV. Boom. And it's that easy. That's all you have to do. And you can see the differences there. And now look at the bottom where you can see the difference per year. Now you can see it narrowed it down. It's still 2 years, but it's narrowed it a lot more. And the benefit is a lot greater. So Go ahead, Diana. Show the client's point of view as the last thing here.
Sure. So on the right side, first things first, you have a PDF or an image option where Barry showed you the co-branded version. Definitely be using that with your referral partners. But you also have the interactive link option. Click on this disk drive here. Always save this so you can come back to it later, make any edits. It'll save it to your account, then hit share. You can text this or email this to yourself or put the recipient's name right in here and send it directly to them, or simply just copy this link and paste it into an email or wherever you'd like. I just opened it in a new tab. And the customer would see this page and be asked for their name and their email. As soon as they click on view presentation, you will get an email notification saying that the customer has viewed it at the specific time they've opened it in their time zone. So if you're not talking to them, you know to call them right away. You have your branding at the top and then the interactive report down at the bottom. And just know that if you make an edit, for example, like Shayla was saying, instead of putting 10% down, maybe put 20%, if you go into your tool, change the down payment or whatever field of input and save the scenario, it'll automatically refresh it on the customer's view. They don't have to do anything. And the customer can come in here, look at the comparison, click around on the year bars at the bottom here, and it'll correspond with the year, all the results.
And then Sheila, do you guys do VA loans? Do you guys do active military?
Yeah, we do. And I also had to say, me gusta que tienes esto en español también.
Claro que
You
sí.
can export this right into Spanish.
Yes, you can. You can export it to Spanish. And I show them real quick if you go back to the beginning, just real quick. So one problem that realtors have is they go to military version. So one problem realtors have, put any location, it doesn't matter. So realtors say, okay, I've got somebody and I know what their monthly allowance is and change the rate to, like 6.5%. I know the rate, I know the monthly allowance. How much of a home should I show them so they have nothing out of pocket except for the allowance? We do that for you. We will tell you how much the property amount could be with that type of allowance. All you gotta do is plug in the allowance. So yeah, instead of a realtor, they're not able to figure it out. They'll go through a whole pad of yellow paper trying to figure it out. You can do it for them in 1 second. It's very, very, very helpful and very meaningful.
Wow.
I do see a quick question here. Can we do a video screen share talking through the presentation? Yeah, you have a built-in screen share right on MBS Highway. If you're not on a Zoom or something like that, you can do it right within MBS Highway too.
Yeah, it comes with a screen share. 5 minutes, show them how quick you could do the debt consol.
Okay, so that's found under the loan advisor
Yeah,
section.
do the refi one, and then the purchase one works like the same principle.
Yep, all the same types of inputs. So starting from the top, you'll enter what type of scenario, what the monthly qualifying income is, and the location that your customer purchased their existing home or the home that they're in. And originally they purchased this home for $500,000 back in June of 2019. And notice that as you change any of these fields here, we'll calculate what the remaining balance, or forgive me, what the current value of the home is today, because we know all the historical appreciation rates. So they built a nice chunk of equity. And then in this case, they did not refinance. But if they did refinance between the original purchase and now, you would select yes and enter the information from the most recent refinance. Originally, they had a 20% down payment, 80 LTV, and they have a beautiful 3.75% rate. And through normal amortization, we'll do this for you. We'll give you the remaining balance today and the current monthly payment, in this case, just P&I. And it's so easy to enter in the debts in the next section. You choose either an installment debt with all your loans, a revolving debt where you can enter credit cards.
Go ahead, put another credit card in there. Put a store credit card of some sort.
Nordstrom, my favorite. How much are you thinking, Barry?
Let's say $5,000.
What, like 250 or something?
Yeah, let's say 250.
Okay, so we add that debt. Look how easy it is. It populates it on the right side in your list of debts there. And one last thing to mention, in your types of debts or debt name section, you have things like child support and alimony you can't really pay off, a cash out option, or you can add a HELOC here or some other kind of custom debt that you'd like to add.
Yeah, that just helps with your ratios because we want to make sure they're going to qualify for it. So we can include all the, so this helps you. You see what your max qualifying ratios are there. You could change that to anything you want. And then that slider above shows you, where you stand on the ratios. So you know that, okay, I want to do this, but I can't because I want to go above a certain ratio limit.
Right. Then the proposed loan information, we can take them easily to a 75% cash out LTV option here. We have a 30-year fix, bringing them from 3.75% to 6.375% in rate. We're not getting rid of any mortgage insurance, and we're rolling $3,000 in closing costs into this new loan. So it doesn't make sense, as Barry showed you initially. You're going to increase the loan amount. You're not going to be able to do anything about these debts here. While first of all, the principal and interest, or interest, I should say, moves higher because of that higher rate. Your taxes are still about the same, but you're holding on to this $2,250 in your monthly revolving debt. So it's going to cost them about $470 a month, $480 a month to do this refinance. But first, we'll show you that they have a current LTV of about 57%. As mentioned, we can take them all the way to 75%. So this blank space, this white space here, is how much equity they have available. We'll calculate that for you, $120,000. So let's take these debts and start paying them off simply by clicking on each of these lines.
Yeah, anywhere in the line will work, by the way.
Anywhere. And after the first one, you're already saving them $60. But let's keep going down the whole list here. We've increased their loan amount. We still have some equity in the home, and we're saving them about $1,400 a month. Now you can take it a step further. As Barry showed you, just scroll down. We do it for you automatically. If they want to put it towards principal, no longer do they have a 26-year or so term. They've cut that down to only 13 years. You've helped them do so. Instead of making 300 and change more payments, they're making a little bit less than 160 payments. And you can see how the benefits begin. The first payment, as Barry said, but after 5 years, an additional $80,000.
Yeah, by the way, Sean, you can go to any LTV you choose. We just put the 75 because that's just easy.
Yep,
But
you could change it right
that-
here.
Yeah,
where
you can
Barry's
change it
saying.
right there. Any LTV you pick. So,
Yep.
all those fields are editable. Okay. We just went to a 75 because we know it's a no-brainer. You could take people to a 75 cash out.
Yeah. And one thing to mention too, right here, this little pencil icon, if the customer wants to only apply like half or something.
Yeah. Let's say they say, I want to put $500 a month in my pocket.
You can do so. And then we'll calculate the remainder, put the remainder towards principal, and still you're taking off about 120 payments, paying this loan off in about 16 years, 2 months. And again, share this as a PDF with your co-brand partners, without your co-brand partners. And of course, share it as an interactive link where your customer can then go through and check or uncheck any of these debts and edit the additional principal payment if they
Yeah. And if you have the PDF, you could do 2 PDFs side by side to compare different scenarios of the buy versus rent too. You can have 2 side by side scenarios, 20%, 10%, 5%, whatever.
Yeah.
As many as you want, just go create the PDFs and then you have them on the screen side by side.
Yep.
All right, here's what I have to say. We all need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, are we using tools that we have at our fingertips? How many of you guys have had an MBS highway subscription for longer than 6 months, let alone 3 months, and you haven't been getting in there and working it and using it? Doesn't matter what the past is, but today make a commitment. Make a commitment to say, I'm going to get good at demonstrating the value of homeownership everywhere I go. It's like my mission. You know, we set a mission in our branches to help 500 renters become homeowners this year. It's a personal mission. It's a fulfilling purpose. It's do whatever it takes. It's fixed credit. It's all the stuff that we've got to do because that's how we do something meaningful. This isn't about just making money. It's really about making a difference in people's lives. And honestly, guys, there are so many people out there. You saw that debt spending happening and what's going on. People are getting scared. And this is when media really starts affecting people because then they start saying, oh gosh, now I can barely afford my bills. I'm working 6 days a week. I got to take on an Uber job. And now the banks are failing. Oh my gosh. And we get to come into people's lives and offer solutions. Barry, I love how passionate you are about what you've built with your team and where you can click. And I just noticed all the little pop-ups that make it easy. Guys, like these guys have worked so hard to make it a no-brainer that I could literally take any college grad or even high school grad tomorrow and say, start working up scenarios. And I'm pretty sure that within a half day, they could own this for us. This is something that you could get every one of your college kids and high school kids this summer to be calling your database, having these conversations, building these scenarios, and wowing the heck out of people. It's more work. It's more conversations. The media is against us. The world's hard, but get better. Don't get bitter, get better. Thank you guys for your time today. It's amazing.
Quick thing, Shayla. Every one of those tools has a quick help video next to it. So you'll see that help video. So kind of like what Diana and I were explaining, you have that recorded for you. So you'll be able to get a little quick refresher if you need, or if you like, we'll show you how to do that. So that's an easy one. And the other point to make is that what about just presenting that purchase debt consolidation to an office of real estate agents? Again, it doesn't matter if you don't get a deal specifically from that realtor is going to look to you and say, holy shit, this person really is smarter than the other people that are out there. I need to be at least talking to you and understand. And make sure you watch the daily videos every day so you could speak in a much more educated manner than your competition about the market. And you don't want them speaking in a more educated manner than you are. And if they're watching the videos and you're not, don't fall behind. Okay. This is This is your time. You have to be able to get, Sheila said it so beautifully, have to get better. You have to constantly push yourself to get better. 2 years ago, when all you were doing is managing all the transactions you could do, you still need to get better, but okay, maybe it was harder to dedicate the time. Now, there's an old Chinese proverb. It says, if you know, but then you don't act, then you don't know. And what we're suggesting to you here is now you know.
Now you know. Thank you so much for the time. We will get better. I promise. I know the crew that surrounds me and we're fired up. Thank you, Diana. You really did an incredible job as always.
pleasure.
Thank you, Barry.
You guys
Thank you,
are
everybody,
awesome.
for coming.